What's up? What's up? It's your boy Corey B. So what I want to talk about is a particular experience that I had that ultimately, if you're a reseller, this will absolutely, relate to you. And if you're, well, you definitely got a lot you can take away from it. If you're not a reseller, then ultimately, even if you have an entrepreneurial spirit and you're trying to build businesses and things like that, there's so much you can take from this one instance that was, particularly eye-opening. Okay, so there was a guy, I've talked about him before, but ultimately, he got me started in reselling. And I worked with him a lot doing contract labor before I decided to venture out on my own. And then even when I was growing my business, contract labor was just kind of easy that I could squeeze it in between my, college schedule. So I would go and, he lived in San Antonio, I lived in Austin. I would, cruise down there after I got out of class. I'd, knock out some stuff for him and I'd get paid. Got to the point for a while where I kind of generated invoices. I generated invoices and we had a good reputation, a good relationship, a good rapport between the two of us. So I always kind of was just like, it's almost like a savings account if I didn't get paid. Because I was like, the money's coming. It's just, whatever. It's cool. I didn't sweat it too much. I was young. I was young and I was learning things, and definitely first lesson right there is when people in business, when people owe you money, get your money. Be sure that you're paying your debts in your business. Be sure that you're settling up, any kind of balances, that you're not carrying them over past reasonable. I understand that certain businesses operate certain ways, and you have a balance sheet that carries over. If it's before this date, then you get paid at that date. If it's before this date, you get paid at that. But never carry it past the date that y'all have had under a reasonable contract. Y'all have agreements. Stand up to them. Own up to what you agreed to, and make sure it always gets taken care of. Those balances not being settled, that creates a bad reputation for you. That creates a bad dynamic between you and your contractors, you and your, the people that you're having work with you. Things like that. You never want to get in that situation. Secondly, like I said, from the opposite perspective, make sure that they're paying you. Make sure that you're getting paid in a reasonable time frame. And if you walked into a situation and you're like, oh, well, I'm just going to do this work for you and we'll settle up later. It'll be cool. And I'll do this work from you and we'll settle up later. And, people do that. I've known people who do that. I've known many businesses who've worked that way. And it kind of carried on that way because one of two reasons. Either the person who was contracting them was always real diligent about paying them quickly, so they never felt that need to get anything in writing or set actual dates. There was a guy I worked with, it was incredible. I mean, he paid me within like 2 days. A lot of times he paid me that day. I'd be like, oh man, it's cool, blah, blah, blah. And he'd be like, yeah, well, I don't have cash on me, but don't worry, I got you tomorrow. And sure enough, he would show up the next day and he had cash in his hand. And it was cool. So I didn't ever sweat it with that guy. And like I said, some people are like that. But the other reason that it tends to linger on is because the employees themselves, the contractors themselves, don't set a precedent for what's reasonable. They don't demand their pay. They don't say, hey, I worked for you, you haven't paid me, I'm gonna work again and I still haven't gotten paid. That's not reasonable. Set up clear-cut guidelines. Like when you contract someone out, be sure, hey, you know what? I'm going to pay you every such day. I'm going to pay you this day each week. Or I'm going to pay you, have it clear and concise and concrete, unbreakable, unwavering, unmoving. Like it is exactly what it is. And when you take a job that way, make sure that they're straight with you. Say, hey, okay, what's the pay schedule like? Don't go into a situation, especially when you're a new contract. Don't go in the situation, hey, you're going to pay me. No. What you do is you approach it. So what's the pay cycle like? What is the pay cycle? When should I expect pay? That's what you do. And then when they tell you what it is based on their system, their company, their guidelines, they say, oh, we pay every first and third Friday, and as long as you get your invoices in by this date, then they'll give you the parameters, and once they give you the parameters, you abide by them. Don't get demanding, don't get switchy on them. It's real simple. It's cut and dry. It's business. They told you what the pay cycle was. You agreed to it. That's when you should get paid. That's when you should get paid. Okay. So like I said, I had this experience going to college, and then it got to finals time, and I was unable to, get down there and do some more work. I was like, look, man, I need some time. I'm trying to do this and that. I can't really work right now. And he was like, oh, okay, well, I still owe you a balance, so, we'll settle up. And I was like, okay, man, it's cool. I didn't sweat it too much. Well, then things went on for a while. Well, let me get to my story here. The $11,000 week. The $11,000 week. It was crazy, right? When you're talking reselling, when you're talking about strictly, when I was reselling, I had eBay, Etsy, Reverb, Posh, and I even did Facebook Market. And at one point, way early on, I did some Craigslist, but that got too... So it's like I was doing it on platforms, right? I was selling everywhere, okay? I had multiple stores. I had this whole, system that I had set up. Okay, the guy I was doing contract for, he was making, he was taking care of his family. He was making $60K a year, you know what I'm saying? Easy. He was making $60K a year, taking care of his family, and this is in the early 2000s, early 2000s, $60K a year now is still good money, but you definitely can make more now than you could have then. Okay, so check it. He was making like $60K a year. I stepped in and was like, all right, I hit him up one time, right? And I was like, hey, man, look, check it out. It was right after my oldest son was born. And I was doing a contract job, and then that contract job fell through. And then I had just a rough month, right? I had a rough month in my business, and my stores weren't, generating the sales that they had been. I'd had some solid months of great sales, and then sales were just tanking. I was like, man, why now? Why now? And, honestly, maybe, there was different things I could have done differently, we've all been there. We've all can look back in retrospect and say what you could have, should have, would have done, right? Okay, but I knew that I had a substantial balance at this point, substantial balance. And I was like, look, I just need a little bit of cushion so I can kind of redirect some of my business and get things back flowing. So I hit him up, right? And I was like, hey, look, check it out. This is what I need. I was like, help me, help you, help me. And he just laughed. He was like, what? And I was like, okay, look, let's put it on the level here. You owe me money, right? You owe me a grip, right? But I understand if I hit you up for the full boat, that might be a lot for you to part with today, me not giving you much time, but I really need it. So I need you to settle up the balance that we've been carrying for a long while. And I've done some, more work for you here and there, and you've paid me little pieces, but you have not paid me the full balance. We got a substantial balance here, and I need it. But what I can do is, how about I do some more work for you, and while I'm working for you, I can help you for you to help me. You give me the money, I come work for you, we get your business booming, right? And we bring in the cash, so that way you got the cash to give me what I need, plus you'll have the cash you need. I can do this. I know I can do this. And he was like, okay, this sounds cool. And so he was like, well, come on down, let's see what we can do. And I was like, okay. And it was crazy because I had, an infant right? And so I was like, Kimberly, look, this is what we got to do. I can go make some serious bank. This is the week. This is going to change it, right? This is going to be it right now. And so we go down to San Antonio. We go down there daily for 1 week. 1 week we go down there daily, and every week I'm just hustling. I'm like, this guy's got inventory, man. He had 2 rooms of inventory and a storage unit. I think he ended up buying another storage unit. I mean, this man had inventory. He just didn't even have time to list all that he had. And he was kind of at this place in his life where he was like, I'm not trying to overwork and I'm not trying to kill myself, which is fine. You're running your business. Ultimately, you don't want to kill yourself. You want to get to that point where it's nice and comfortable and you're making a good living, you're paying all your stuff, and you're satisfied with where the growth of your business. And he didn't have aspirations of his business being huge. He had aspirations of his business providing for his family. So we started, as I was going through his stuff and I was like, dude, I was like, you got so much. And he was like, well, check it out. You said you could do this. So how about, and I was like, he started giving me suggestions. Well, what if you can list this? What if you can sell that? What if you can go through these things here? I was like, look, check it out. I got an idea for you. I was like, he had met with this guy. It doesn't matter. That's a side story. But ultimately, he got some more inventory here. He went and got some more inventory there. He went and made a couple investments in some products, right? So he could get some more merchandise in the house for me to start listing. And I was like, okay, so I'm going to just jump on it first thing in the morning. And I just started looking around. I was like, what looks like bank, right? What looks like the big money? And so I started going through things. I was like, that. And I was like listing stuff. I was picturing stuff. I was cleaning things up. I was getting things situated, organized, and I was moving as fast as I could. Meanwhile, Kimberly and my little man were right there with me, which was super cool. It was awesome to have them with me while I was doing this. But I was just grinding. I was hustling and grinding. And at the end of the week, like I said, he's making $60K a year, right? We made $11,000 in that 1 week. Okay, so there's a few things that I want to take away from this, because I looked at him and I told him, I was like, some of the stuff that he had, I was like, dude, why are you sitting on this? I was like, this box has been sitting here for how long? And he's like, I've had that for a few months. And I was like, then why haven't you listed any of that for sale? He's like, well, I've just been real busy and, I just haven't had time to get to it. I was like, but that's money, dude. What's the point of having that if you're not going to list it? And he was like, well, I saw it. I was like, then why buy it if you're not going to list it? And he was like, well, I'll list it eventually. I was like, no, okay. I'm not following, dude. And he was like, well, the thing is would you pass up on $75 if you saw it on the floor? And I was like, wait a second. He was like, you coming home and you see $75 sitting on the, in the middle of the street. And I was like, why would there be 70? He's like, it doesn't matter. He's like, there's $75. Would you pass it up? And I was like, but you're not looking at $75. You're looking at one item that's worth $75. You're looking at this item that's worth $50. You're looking at that item that's worth $100. But you paid, $5, $2, $12. You paid something for these things. Why would you keep paying money for things if you're not listening? And he didn't see it that way, and that's fine. So to the resellers out there, what I want you to take away from this is don't ever hoard. Don't ever hoard. If you buy something, you ultimately, you never want to get to the point where you've got more inventory. Like he, at one point, got to the point where he was paying for 2 storage units. I mean, that's dipping into your profits. You want to have enough that fits in the place that your little warehouse, your little garage, your little storage, your little whatever, your shed, wherever it is you're doing you keeping your inventory. You want it to fit there. You don't want to have to start scaling up. You don't want to get to that point. Because if you're getting to that point, then you're getting to the point where you're dipping into your profits. You want stuff to come in and leave. Come in and leave. You want to hit a yard sale on Saturday. You want to hit a yard sale on Sunday. Maybe some yard sales start on Friday. So on the weekend, you want to hit these yard sales. You want to buy something. You want to come home, dust it off, clean it up, take a picture, and list. Because you're hoping that before you ever take it off your desk and go organize it, that it's already got an order and you can sell it and ship it and make it leave. I can't tell you how many times I had, oh man, it was just such an incredible feeling. It was an incredible feeling. And see, this guy, the thing is whenever something sold too fast, he always had this doubt. He was like, dude, you just listed that and it already sold. And I'm like, hell yeah, that's great. That's what we want. We want you to list it and it to leave. And he's like, but if it sold that fast, maybe I didn't ask for enough money. And I was like, I had this one thing. It was it was an oversized, bulky plastic Beatles clock. It had the Yellow Submarine. It was gold around the outside. Plastic. But it was like painted gold. It was cool. It was a cool clock. Especially if you're a Beatles fan. Super dope. I think he told me he spent like $10 on it at some thrift store or something. I listed that thing for $400. It sold in 2 hours. 2 hours, and it sold. And he was like, I should have asked for more. And I was like, dude, you paid $10 for it and we sold it for $400. Really? Do we care? Do we care? You bought it for 10, sold it for 400. It doesn't matter. You call it a win and move on. Okay, so the next thing I want you to get, as a reseller and even as an entrepreneur building business is when you look at the value of a product, profit. That's what you want to see. You want to see profit, and you want to see turnovers, man. You want to see it sell. You want to see a product move. You want to see cash flow. It doesn't matter. You don't have to get greedy. Kevin O'Leary is a brilliant, perfect example of this. When he built his software company, he was selling these software packages. They were hundreds of dollars. Well, back in the day, they were hundreds of dollars. And that's because of the way they had to manufacture them, the way they had to produce them, the intel, the information that was on them. It really was hundreds of dollars. But then when he was approached and he was like, hey, we could help y'all manufacture these and we could sell these faster, but we're gonna have to sell them for less. And he was like, what? He was like, well, maybe we could do a package deal for 4 of them. If you haven't heard his story, look him up. Look up Kevin O'Leary's story. It's a great story, man, of how he built and sold his software company. But eventually it got to the point that he was looking at these programs that each one was hundreds of dollars a piece. This one was like $150, that one was $300, that was $200. And he got to the point where he took all of them, condensed them down, mass produced them, put them on one little package, sold them at Walmart. He went through, like I said, there was a whole chain. It was like lasted over a year. It went through, I think it lasted longer than that, but I think the process from it going from him selling it, they went through QVC, they went to QVC, then they got to Walmart, and he's selling them for $30. And so someone, and he, even in his own mind, at the moment, when he'll tell you, you'll hear his testimony, his story, it's incredible. He talks about, he's like, at the time, he was like, I could never sell it for that price. How will I ever make money? And his goal is money. He wants money. He wants to make money. He wants to grow his business. He wants to get to the point that, that's the dream, right? So he's like, how can I sell this? I went from selling this for $400, that for $150, that for $300, that for $200. How could I sell it all for $30? $29.95. $29.95. How's that even gonna happen? But when he took his company to that level, and he took it to mass production, and they were printing and, getting these things on the shelves at Walmart, he sold his company for $3.2 billion. Selling them for 400 and 200 and whatever, he was never going to get to $1 billion. Never. Because he was producing them so slow. He was producing them slower because of the technology at the time. Like, this isn't all his bad. I'm just saying, see, he was smart enough to learn and grow. And that's what you got to be able to do. And that's what, this guy that I was working with, he was struggling with. I was like, dude, you could sell this for, $5 cheaper, and you could sell that for a little more. And, I sold that clock for $400, and he was like, dude, what if we could have sold it for more? I was like, dude, I searched everywhere on the internet, tried to comp this thing, and there was nothing comparable. There was no compare. There was nothing. There was not another single Beals clock anywhere. It was the weirdest thing. So yes, absolutely. The fact that it was the only one, I could have listed it for some astronomical number, but if I listed it for some astronomical number, how fast would it have sold? Some people will see a, $400 clock and they're like, yeah, but dude, look, it's so cool. Somebody sees like an $800 clock and they're like, whoa, what's this clock gonna do for me? Like, is it, what is this clock? You know, so it's like you got to be reasonable, okay? So when you're evaluating your product as an entrepreneur, as someone who's mass producing something, someone who's creating something, you got to know the difference between a price when you're doing them one-offs and a price when you're doing mass production. You've got to look at the price between what the consumer is willing to pay and what is the profit? If you pay $10, you get $400, you call it a win. Call it a win. That's what that's got to be. So like I said, so 1, don't hoard. 2, move product. 3, keep reasonable valuation of products. So that way the product keeps moving, because that's all it's about. That's all it's about. Would you rather sell one thing, or would you rather sell like 3 items a week for, $400? Or would you rather sell 1 item a week for $1,000? 3 items isn't that much harder, but it just made you more money. That's where you got to get to. And if you can get to the point where you're selling, well, look, I'm selling 10 items, I'm selling 20 items, I'm selling 10 items a day. They're $50, but it's $500 today. And because they're all $50, man, they're flying. Or are you still making profit? Are you still making bang? If you're still banging for your buck, then it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So ultimately, yeah, get out there and if you're reselling, and if you're not reselling too, if you're building a product, this is something, when you value your product, like you can look at companies like, Louis Vuitton, you can look at Supreme. If you value your product too low, yeah, you might still make a profit, but are people going to assume that the cost is too good to be true and the product's maybe not that good? People pay $500 to Supreme for a shirt. They'll pay over $400. They'll pay $200, $300, $400 for a T-shirt. Why? Why would you pay $300 for a T-shirt? Because it's Supreme. And they make so many limited quantities that it's like, well, I got to get one, otherwise I don't get one. So people will pay this ridiculous price because they see value in the company. They see value. They see a brand. You see that little Supreme right there on your shirt, right here on your shirt, and you're like, well, I'm wearing Supreme, so it's worth it, right? It's completely absurd. But from a business standpoint, they valued their products so high that the consumer assumes worth in that price. The consumer, it's psychological, man. If you put it right at this sweet spot, they might not buy it. You might not sell as much. But if you put it here, you better make sure that it's something they want. And if it's something they want, like a cool T-shirt, up here, and then they know that it's limited, so you got to give them a reason. You say, well, every fall we print our new shirt. Every fall we print our new shirt, but we're only printing 200. 200 T-shirts, $300 a piece. 200 T-shirts? Seriously? 200 T-shirts at $300 a piece. Does that make sense? No, of course it don't make sense. Talking $60,000 on T-shirts. Does that make sense? No, of course it doesn't make sense. But why do they pay it? Because it's got that limitation. It's got that limitation. That limitation carries so much value. Now, if you drop that price down, yeah, you see people sell $19.95 T-shirts all the time. And can you still make money on a $20 T-shirt? Absolutely. Can you move a lot of them? Yeah, absolutely. You drop that price down to $10, people start wondering, is it too good to be true? There's a website, I think it's like $5 tees. I've seen little ads on Facebook and on Instagram and stuff. I honestly, I've never even brought myself to go to the website. It's a $5 t-shirt. Either there's a catch and it's going to cost me like $10 or $12 just for delivery, plus there's tax or something. I don't know. I just assume, just at the fact that they're $5, that either there's a catch and it's going to end up costing me $20 for a shirt, and which I don't like that. I don't like being fooled or tricked, so I haven't gone there. Or the shirt's going to be low quality. I'm going to be really disappointed. And I don't want to be disappointed when I buy a cool t-shirt. It could be, I'm rocking a cool t-shirt right now. This my son bought me this. It's a Cobra Kai shirt. I love this shirt. It's just a t-shirt. It's just a t-shirt. Nothing super fancy, but I like it. And it's good quality. It fits me good. It feels good. I enjoy this t-shirt. I got a lot of t-shirts I enjoy. The thing is I don't want to see a t-shirt and be like, oh man, that's so cool. I order it. I wait 2-3 weeks for it to show up. It shows up and then I'm like, really? This is junk. That will bum me out. These are the things that go through a consumer's mind, you know? These are the things you have to consider. The other thing is being flexible. Okay, you got to be willing to be flexible. You got to be willing when you see, okay, you need to earn money, right? You're building your business is hitting a little wall. Why is it hitting a wall? What do you need to change? What do you need to fix? What do you need to adjust to get there? Then when you have an opportunity to make some bank, right? Are you willing to bend to get there? As far as a reseller, he had an opportunity to let me come in and help him make some bank. I needed him to repay me the balance he owed me and let's settle up. But I was going to help him get there where he was going to walk away, or you're going to make profit and you're going to sell things. If you put it too high, they might not buy it. My payment that he just made me. He was going to feel it. Like I said, he was making $60K a year. $60K a year, I mean, I got him 11 in 1 week. 1 week. 1 week I got him 11. And I didn't do it all. It's not all me. It was him too, obviously. But I'm saying it's like with us working together, that's what I was able to do for him. That's what we were able to produce. It was incredible. It was a great thing. Okay, so he had to be willing to be flexible. When someone comes in and you have a business that you're like, my business is doing well, but it's only doing so well. And someone says, well, your business is doing great, but it could be doing better. Be flexible to someone who knows something. Be flexible and willing to learn and be willing to adapt new techniques, new procedures, new styles, new things. Like obviously don't change who you are, don't change your business, but you can adapt your business, you can grow your business, you can be flexible, be versatile. I mean, these are key aspects to being an entrepreneur, okay? And the biggest thing I want to take from this is opportunity, man. Opportunity. As an entrepreneur, you've got to see opportunity. You've got to look for the money in everything you do. I mean, really, you got to look for the money. Find the money. Like, look for the money. That's it. I mean, when it came down to it, I needed some capital. I needed liquidity. I needed like cold hard cash in my hand. And I was like, okay, well, I need it right now. I could go do this and get it. I could get it there. I could do this. I was like, And I thought outside the box for a second. I was like, I work with this guy. I've been working with him for a hot minute. I know that there's bank to be made. I know that we could step it up and make a whole lot more than we were making. So I envisioned something different. And I took the opportunity and told him, hey, we're going to do something different. We're going to make this money right now. We're going to make this happen by doing things differently than we have been doing it. I took that opportunity. Man, in business and being an entrepreneur, there's opportunities. In this country, there's opportunity all around us. There's always opportunities. There's always so much money that can be made and so much cash that can be put your hands on. If you're willing to step outside that box and see things differently and go after the money, that's what you've got to do. You've got to be willing to see things different. You got to be willing to see opportunities to invest your time, your talent, your efforts, your blood, sweat, and tears. You've got to be willing to put it out there. And if you can put it out there and you're willing to take that chance and say, I'm going to do something different today because it's going to better benefit my overall goal and my overall plan, That's how you're going to get to that level where your overall goal and plan really takes off. And that's what you got to be willing to do. As a reseller, you got to be willing to do that. As an entrepreneur, you got to be able to do that. You got to be able to see these opportunities. You got to be willing to go after them. So, with that being said, like I said, this was my $11,000 week. It was incredible. It was a ride. It was something. It was big. It was cool. I feel so cool that I was a part of it. I feel super cool that it was my idea. I didn't know that it was going to hit 11K. That wasn't like my goal. My goal was just, I got to make enough. That way he gets his bills paid. He doesn't feel the sweat of paying me the substantial balance he owed me. And we could just move forward to something new. And that's what I did. So I hope all of y'all have taken a few little things. This story to me, this story really unpacked so many different aspects of running a business, being contract labor employee, being a reseller, and overall being an entrepreneur. I think I really just, there was so much in this story. This story has been, I've carried this for 9 years now, and it's always resonated with me. I've gone back to it so many times for so many different little details. I'm like, this moment, this week, taught me so many different things that, I hope you learned some things. Be sure you give your boy some love. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button. Ding the bell. Get your notifications. Stay tuned because I got more coming at you. But be sure to leave comments below. If y'all got stories, I'd love to hear your stories. Leave stories below. Leave comments below. Let's open up a dialogue. Let's keep this thing going. Let's keep learning and growing off of each other. All right. Till next time, it's your boy.